We've handed over our food security to someone else, and they're here to help you take it back. It's the Farm2Table Direct Show with Ryan and Keith.
But the point that I want to make there on this one is that in order to be somewhat food independent, you need to be able to be assured that, I think it should be, how long can you survive without going to a store?
And that's the thing is, and that's where their team of that statement, I will say, because I've read the same, the same definitions, in my research.
Right.
And the one thing that their matrix does not account for completely is the supply.
Uh-huh.
That and to a degree it does count for it by, because food availability and your access to it and your ability to purchase.
Right.
Or your ability to get food and food availability and your access to it. Well, I mean,
right.
If the food's not available, then you're not food independent or food secure.
That's right.
And when you're on a fixed or limited income, or even just a medium, medium range income, and the price of that food becomes to a point that it hurts you to buy that, then you are no longer,
right. Affordability.
And
can you afford it?
To eat it? I always used to say I still say, we ate a whole lot of pinto beans and fried taters when we were kids. Now, we just thought it was good cooking, and that's what we normally ate. But in hindsight, well, there were 6 people in the house that had to be fed on a limited budget.
Right. Well, we always lived on a tight budget.
So, we understand when folks that we understand we came from that tight budget too. So we get
right.
it.
But you and I growing up, and we're 10 years apart, but where you and I growing up, there has never been an incident that I can remember to where you would go to the store and you can't find saltine crackers.
Or you can't go down and readily find beef. Even if you didn't want to buy it, it was there. And it's
right. I mean, even if you couldn't afford it, it was on the shelf. It's there.
And I will say what I would say the last 100, across the general spectrum of America, what I would say in the since the Depression, the first time in our history since the 1930s, that normal stock things that people keep in their home or have in their refrigerator or in their pantries are suddenly not available. And I mean, that should be an alarming thing to anybody. Is it an inconvenience at the time?
We have indicators all around us right now, right?
Are you disappointed at the time? Absolutely. But the more important thing is the why and the who and the what. What's led to this? Is there a who? That's behind this, and there's certainly a bigger picture to it that we'll delve into.
Good question.
But I mean, it's I'm going to get a little political for just about a second. Our Constitution is designed to guarantee us the right to life. That's what it says. We hold these truths to be self-evident. We're endowed.
And may I add, one of the most important things that those rights came from God.
Absolutely, not from government, from God.
Right.
And that is the right to life. And if you don't have food, you don't have life. It's in the pyramid.
Point.
We have to have it. So, folks, I mean, if you really want to get down to what does freedom and food independence have to do with each other, that's really it. If you don't have food, if you don't have access to food to live, then or if you are dependent upon a source or a government or an entity to provide you that food, then you're not truly food independent. Now, I recognize that.
Or four industries that control 80% of the market.
Control that large of a percentage of your food availability. of a particular food.
Right. Now I'm not hating on
they're
those four
businesses, they're
industries, and
corporations.
because what America has been able to do, it became the breadbasket
Right.
of the world, and our
and be able to help
technologies and
the
everything
world,
that's been able to supply not only us but
Right.
supply the world with
Right.
goods is remarkable. But there's a problem with that, and I'm going to let you go ahead and expound on that.
The problem is that a group of somebodies now controls the average consumed availability. Now, I say this as somebody who sits in the exact same seat. If our food supply is exclusively going to a grocery store or a box store and buying our food, then the only control that we have of that is our purchasing power, i.e. our money, our income. Right? That's
Right.
the control factor. They control what's available. They control what brand's available. They control how much of it's available. So, am I truly food independent? No, because the average grocery store, the average box store, only keeps 3 days worth of food on stock.
Right. And that's an important point that everybody in our audience should pay attention to, because they can only supply on an average 3 days.
And as we've seen in 2020 with the toilet paper, and we've seen with obviously other things since then, if there's a run, if people are in a panic or they're upset or whatever, and they hit the stores, then that supply goes a lot faster. It doesn't last 3 days. And
That's
the
right.
trucks, as great as our American truckers are, can't keep up. But, it's just the simple logistics thing. And there's going to be delay.
As great as our systems are out there, if you can see that even in the case of the great toilet paper caper, as you said, that can fall apart
very quickly. And and that was an eye-opening, as somebody who works in the transportation industry. And
why toilet paper?
It blew my mind.
But anyway, you're right.
But it was an eye-opener for me to the true fragility of our supply system, of our food system. Now, me and Keith, me and you, we've talked a lot. We've, without getting too much into details, we've both begun to take actions, and our own
families, right?
Because one of the things that we're big on is individual accountability, and what we want for you, and what we're going to go forward for you on food independence, and why we want it. It's so important to us. Is if you're more food secure and more food independent, and everybody around us is, then that is less that we have to provide for.
Right. My family, put another way, is that if I don't have to worry about you having food, then I don't have to worry about protecting the food that because we've taken some early actions. I don't have to worry about you.
We're on this journey as well of getting ourselves, and we're going to share those things with you that we've already done, and we're going to talk about and share as we go forward. Things that can be done, provide options, provide information. But, that's one of the big things. And I'm going to see if I can get my notes back up here before I have,
one of the big points that, that I want to make, that we want to make out here, is that if someone else controls your food, then you don't have freedom or independence.
And that's it. You don't.
If you don't have enough food to last you, in my opinion, 6 months.
Oh, at minimum.
Then you're going to be faced with you could be faced with a situation. I hope it never comes to that, but
and the quote experts. I mean, if you want to get into recommend 6 months to 1 year of food stored away per person in your house. And now that may seem like a big, if you go in and look in your refrigerator and pantry, that may look like, oh my gosh, where am I going to store 6 months or a year worth of food? And I understand that, especially if you live in an
Right.
apartment or a smaller home, or you just don't have,
Sure.
that availability. Well, there's a lot of options out there that we're going to get
Right.
into of types of food, types of things that are not necessarily what you normally have now, but will sustain you and your family then. And
Right. We're not talking about 6 months worth of
No.
briskets
we're
in
talking
your
rice
freezer.
and beans, folks.
We're just talking about survival. And let me say this. You said something a little bit earlier about people panicking when it come to buying toilet paper. Can you imagine what it would be like to have that kind of panic if it came to food supply? What would you do?
Well,
What would you do, brother?
Exactly.
If your family was faced with starvation because there's nothing on the shelf.
I have said this to my own wife, who I love dearly, but I've told her, what would you do to ensure that our children or grandchildren have food? And you think of the worst thing, you think
Right.
of the worst, most horrific thing you would do to do that. Well, guess what? Everybody else out there who has kids or grandkids will do the same thing or worse.
They feel the same way. That's right.
And I tell her, so you have to be prepared to, with that mindset. Well, if we do work ahead of time, then we don't have to do those things. We don't have to put ourselves in that situation. And,
That's correct. And that's what we're advocating
and that's
for.
what we're advocating for everybody to do. And we're going to get deep into the details of that and what, what you can arm yourselves with, but something we've talked about. There's a mentality that exists that the government's going to take care of. That
some, and too many.
Well,
I should say
something me and you have shared multiple times with each other. The government does not care for you like you care for yourself. The government doesn't care for your family.
That is absolutely a
The
true
government doesn't care for
statement.
your family like you will care for your family. And
That's right.
No government
Right.
takes away my responsibility as a husband, as a parent, as a provider
That's
for
right.
my family. That's my individual accountability. And that's something that we're going to promote a lot, and you're going to hear us a lot, is the individual's accountability to what they can do to make sure that them and their family and as many people as they're willing to can get on board will do, because then that's how we fix the food. That's how we fix these things. We're going to talk about a lot more things, but that's how we fix food and beef and stuff, is through preparation, through knowledge, and through, as we said already, and we're going to keep on pounding, local, bringing it local, bringing it down.
That's exactly right.
And we're going to get into a lot more of that.
Hey folks, this is Keith with the Farm2Table Direct Show. If you found value in the content that we provided for you here today, we ask that you please consider joining our channel or at Farm2TableDirectShow.com. That is the farm, the number 2, directshow.com. Until next time, prepare for the unexpected and keep it local.